previously unbound by the alpha, the most precious part of his soul, into another man's care. Just as he steels himself against his own torment, a sound echoes down the corridor. A low growl, unfamiliar and dangerous. The air thickens with a new threat, and Kael realizes too late that danger has come much closer than he ever intended. Tense silence broken by an eerie growl echoing through the grand mansion halls. The night is heavy, shadows stretching across walls. Footsteps and hushed whispers swirl in the tense air. The mansion lay cloaked in an unnatural stillness, shadows curling and stretching as the night deepened. Kael sat alone in the dimly lit study, restless thoughts swirling like the autumn leaves outside. The burdens of leadership weighed heavy on his shoulders, especially the secret he carried, that Selene was his true mate, hidden among enemies. Suddenly, a low, haunting growl sliced through the silence, echoing off cold stone walls and rattling fragile nerves. Rylan, quiet, alert. I heard it too. Something's wrong, not just the usual prowling. Inside a dim hallway, Selene presses herself against cool stone, breath shallow. Selene, whispering. Was it a warning or a challenge? The mansion falls silent again. A door creaks. Eyes darted through the shadowed halls. No one knew what lurked unseen, but all knew the danger was real. The growl was a call, mysterious, menacing, and unsettlingly close. Lyra's voice cuts through the silence, cold and sharp. Lyra, so much for peace. The games have only begun. Well, the whole house seems to be awake now. She lets her gaze linger on Kael, then Rylan, measuring, prowling. Kael, not taking his eyes off the window. It wasn't just the house that was stirred. Rylan, quiet, wary. Something's out there. Did you see anything, Lyra? Only shadows and the usual suspects haunted by secrets. 3 figures in the study, each with their own motives, each sensing the balance of power shifting with every heartbeat in the darkness beyond the glass. Suddenly, the distant guttural growl rises through the floor. No, not now. Hold on. Her heart slams against her ribs. The wolf within her stirs. A hot, restless tide rushing up her spine, flooding her senses with wild instinct. Her breath quickens, hands gripping the edge of the sink as claws of longing scrape at the edges of her mind. Selene, internal, trembling, panicked. They can't see this. They can't know what I am. Her vision swims. Edges of the world sharpen. Colors and scents intensify. The beast pushing to break free. Desperate, Selene shuts her eyes, sweat stinging, muscles locked tight. She chants, soft and fast, words her mother taught her, magic winding around her soul like invisible chains. Selene whispered, urgent. Stay back. Stay with me. I'm in control. I have to be. Inside, the animal snarls and surges, furious, a storm battering against the cage of her will. Selene grits her teeth, every nerve straining as she bends all her power to smother it, to force it back beneath her skin. With a final gasp, the feral urge recedes. Silence returns, but she sags with exhaustion, her hands shaking. In the darkness, Selene's mask holds, but barely. Each time she tames the wolf inside, she wonders how much longer she can keep it secret, and at what cost. Darius stopped halfway up the stairs as the guttural growl echoed from outside, still and sharp as a blade through the quiet house. The tray of papers and letters trembled in his hands. He froze, grey-streaked hair catching the dim light, and set the tray carefully on the step, the papers rustling faintly in the hush. His sharp gaze flickered toward the tall windows, catching the thin glimmer of moonlight slicing across the floorboards. Shoulders straightening, he planted his feet shoulder-width apart, posture alert and unyielding. A pack elder, ready for threat or surprise. Shadows shifted on the staircase walls, thrown by a draft he hadn't noticed before. Darius listened, breath measured, attuned to every creak and distant footfall in the old mansion. Silence pressed in, broken only by another, softer sound, a muffled thud somewhere below. Without moving, he teleminded Corvin, voice steady in the mental link. Who or what was that outside? He held his position, sharp features calm but vigilant, waiting for any answer, a signal, a challenge, or even an attack. His every sense tuned for movement, Darius remained the quiet sentinel, guardian of the pack's home, every muscle ready to act the instant he needed to. Corvin stands just outside the back entrance of the mansion, shoulders tense beneath his black jacket as the evening fog leaks through the trees. He's glancing at his phone, trying to clear his mind from the pack's latest troubles, when a low, guttural growl ripples across the quiet grounds. He freezes, lips tightening, gaze snapping upward. Every instinct kicks in. He slides his phone into his pocket, scanning the shadows and the house for movement. Muscles taut, he inches closer to the door, listening hard, ready to intervene or warn the others if danger approaches. Corvin's eyes narrowed as the sensation of Darius's telepathic message brushed against his mind. Stepping quietly to the window, he scanned the shadows beyond the edge of their territory. He spotted a massive black wolf prowling just outside the tree line. Its form was unmistakable, even in the moonlight, fur darker than midnight, and eyes that shimmered with eerie contrast, one molten gold, the other a deep stormy brown. Corvin sent his thought back to Darius, steady and urgent. There's a black wolf with mismatched eyes leaving our territory. I see him at the tree line now. Darius's mental command was immediate and crisp. Follow him. Keep your distance, but don't let him disappear. Corvin nodded once, already moving, and slipped out into the night, careful to remain unseen as he trailed the mysterious wolf through the tangled edge of the woods. Every sense sharpened. This was no ordinary intruder. In the moonlit forest beyond the mansion, Corbin's massive black wolf form moves with silent strength, fur absorbing every trace of light. His mismatched eyes, a brilliant gold and a deep, stormy brown, scan the surroundings, wild and calculating, under the shifting shadows. Muscles ripple beneath his midnight fur as he pauses, listening intently to the faint telepathic signals exchanged between Corvin and Darius. Sensing pursuit, Corbin turns his gaze back toward the edge of the territory, his stance tense and dominant, ready to elude or confront those who dare to follow. With a fluid, predatory movement, Corbin's wolf self glides deeper into the darkness, both regal and menacing, a presence that commands the night itself. Kael stood in the study, tension heavy in the air as he glanced at the closed windows. Rylan hovered nearby, trying to read the alpha's mood between the lines of pack business. "You need to get back soon," Rylan said, voice quiet. "The pack's restless. Selene's presence has everyone on edge." Kael nodded, expression unreadable. "You'll stay close to Selene while I'm gone. Make sure nothing happens to her." Rylan's jaw clenched, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "Why her, Kael? What's so special about the girl to you?" Kael barely looked up. "I just feel sorry for her. She's out of place here, that's all." But even as he said it, Kael's gaze hardened, holding back the truth, determined to keep Selene's important secret. "Find out about that growl and who made it," Kael added, voice low and commanding. Rylan nodded, sensing the deeper currents behind Kael's dismissal, but not willing to press further. Kael turned, grabbing a few essentials from the desk, and left the study for his room to pack, leaving Rylan with fresh orders and heavier thoughts about both Selene and the threat lurking outside. Kael entered his room, shoulders tense from the evening's events, only to find Lyra stretched across his bed, waiting for him. Frustration flickered across his expression, but he masked it quickly with the calm control expected of the pack's alpha. "I have to leave for a few days," he told her, voice clipped with restraint. "Pack business?" Lyra sat up immediately, eyes wide with protest. "Then let me stay tonight. You shouldn't be alone." He tried to convince her otherwise, insisting she return to her own room, but Lyra held her ground, her stubborn loyalty refusing to budge. Seeing that she wouldn't leave, Kael sighed, resigning himself to her company. He slipped into bed beside her, boots set aside, gaze fixed on the ceiling while Lyra curled closer, determined to remain by his side no matter the circumstances. Rylan knocked quietly on the heavy basement door, the low sound echoing off cement and stone. He waited, heart thudding, glancing over his shoulder to be certain no one was watching. The memory of bruises and Selene's unconvincing story made his jaw clench. She'd never fallen, and he was certain Darius's hand was behind her silence. Behind the door, Selene startled at the sound. She drew in a shaky breath before answering, masking her surprise with practiced calm. "Who is it?" "It's Rylan," he said, voice pitched just above a whisper. "Open up. I need to talk." She hesitated only a moment before unlatching the door and pulling it open part way, her eyes tired but alert. The basement air was cool, thick with secrets. Rylan softened at the sight of her, but anger simmered under his steady gaze, a promise that this wasn't over. He glanced past her, checking the shadows. "You shouldn't be down here alone," he murmured, stepping inside as she backed away to let him pass. The basement felt like a forgotten world, full of ghosts and old wounds. Selene searched his face, reading the storm in his eyes. "You shouldn't be here. If Darius—" He cut her off, quietly intense. "If Darius or anyone else hurt you, I'll find out. You don't have to protect them. Not from me." She swallowed, looking away. "It's complicated, Rylan. Please, just let it go for now." He hesitated, torn between pushing for the truth and respecting her space. But with a final level look, he promised, "For now, Selene, but I'm not letting this go forever." He turned, heading for the door, pausing only to add, "If you need anything, you come to me, no matter what." And with that, Rylan slipped back into the shadows, his anger banked but not forgotten, as the secrets of the mansion tightened their hold. Golden morning light angled through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the tidy authority of Darius's office. Files were stacked in precise rows. His chair, a symbol of quiet dominance, faced the door in waiting. A quiet knock, then Corvin entered, carrying the chill of dawn and the scent of the wild. He paused just inside, waiting for Darius's nod to continue. "Well?" Darius's voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp as ever. Corvin stood tall, giving nothing away. "I tracked the black wolf through the perimeter and into the trees. He's cautious, never doubled back, never let on. He knew I was there. He knows the land better than most. Either he's been here long, or he learns fast." Darius steepled his fingers. "Did he make contact with anyone? Did anyone notice you were gone?" "No connections. He kept his distance. I didn't return until I was certain he'd left our immediate territory." Corvin stayed focused, purposefully omitting any personal speculations. "His scent," Darius pressed. Corvin nodded once. "Distinct. Old bloodline, heavy with challenge. He isn't just passing through, he's watching, maybe waiting for an opening." A long pause. Darius's lips barely curved. "Good. We'll keep it quiet for now. If he returns, let me know before anyone else. And Corvin, do not engage, not yet." Corvin inclined his head, accepting the silent warning and unspoken trust. "Understood." As the door closed behind Corvin, Darius leaned back, gaze turning thoughtful. The black wolf was a problem, but not one to solve in daylight. For now, secrets remained secrets, and the game continued under the surface. Sunlight filters through the tall windows. The mansion is mostly quiet. Kael is gone, Lyra is not around, and Selene is busy clearing breakfast dishes. Rylan steps in, silent for a moment, then moves closer, not intruding but clearly choosing to linger. Rylan: "You're up early. Couldn't sleep either?" Selene, glancing up, trying for lightness: "Seems I'm making up for lost time." Rylan hesitates, then begins gathering plates to help. The silence between them is gentle, thoughtful, not awkward. Rylan: "You don't have to do it all yourself, you know. I'm not much for cooking, but I can handle dishes." She gives him a small, genuinely grateful smile, and for a moment, the tension in her shoulders softens. Selene: "Old habits. Messes keep me busy. Sometimes they're easier than thinking." There's a brief, loaded pause. Rylan glances at her, considering his next words. Rylan: "Selene, if you ever need to talk about what happened, I mean really talk, not just the I fell thing, I'll listen. I'll do more than that if you need." She lowers her gaze. He senses her hesitation, but he doesn't press, just stands by, present and patient. After a moment, she nods, a flicker of trust passing between them. Selene: "Thank you, Rylan. Maybe soon." They finish the dishes in companionable silence, a new warmth growing, something gentle, healing, and real. With Kael having left the mansion to attend to urgent pack matters, Lyra is left behind, her frustration and jealousy simmering just beneath the surface. Now that Kael is gone, Lyra finds herself restless and unfulfilled by simply remaining in the mansion. She's aware that her attempts to secure his attention and her place in his life have faltered for the moment. Lyra spends the morning pacing her suite and eventually joins Maris for breakfast, seeking alliance and distraction. She vents about Kael's distance and her suspicions about Selene, growing more obsessed with understanding why both Kael and Rylan are so drawn to her rival. Determined not to be cast aside, Lyra quietly starts plotting ways to insert herself back into Kael's life, perhaps by meddling in pack affairs or trying to dig up leverage on Selene. At the same time, she keeps a sharp eye on Maris, aware that even her best friend has been acting strange lately, a seed of suspicion that will grow as the story unfolds. Lyra's restlessness and calculating temperament make her a looming presence, even as she appears to be simply carrying on with her daily routine. Rylan stepped out into the crisp morning air, the chill clearing what little sleep lingered from his mind. He traced the path behind the mansion, eyes sharp for any sign left by the intruder. His nose picked up scents, pack members, the faint tang of Selene's perfume, and something else. Wild, sharp, decidedly not from any wolf he knew. He crouched by a stretch of muddy earth near the property's edge. There, deep paw prints, fresh, much too large to belong to any of Darius's wolves. He leaned closer, noting the distance between prints, bold, unhurried, the gait of a predator that didn't fear being seen. In a low branch, his fingers brushed against a coarse tuft of black fur, longer and darker than the usual, almost blue-black in the pale sun. He pocketed it, meaning to compare it to what he knew from their pack logs. Rylan scanned the tree line, every muscle tense in anticipation of another growl, a challenge, not a warning. He followed the tracks a ways into the woods, but the trail faded near the old creek, where the chilly water tumbled over rocks and erased any trace. Standing in the quiet, he exhaled, frustration gnawing. Someone or something powerful had come far too close, and Rylan hated the nagging feeling that Selene was at the center of it all. Early sunlight slipped through the curtains as Corvin and Maris lay nestled in tangled sheets, the comfortable silence between them laced with worry. Corvin absently traced circles on Maris's arm, his mind half in the present, half with the pack and his duties. Maris broke the silence, her voice low. "Did you see Lyra this morning?" Corvin frowned. "No, why?" I have a feeling," Maris whispered, turning to look at him. "She's been watching me more. Last night, when I caught her looking down the hall, it felt different. Like maybe she knows." Corvin tightened his hold, a mix of protectiveness and frustration in his gaze. "If Lyra knows, she hasn't said anything to me, and she knows better than to spread it. But we'll be careful. Always." Maris nodded, but her eyes remained troubled. "I can't shake it, Corvin. With everything happening, secrets don't last long in this house." He brushed her hair back, soft but serious. "Then whatever comes, we handle it together. Promise." She nodded, finally letting herself relax a little in his arms. The storm outside held at bay for just a... Maris's breath evened out beside him, the warmth of her faith in him a sharp counterpoint to the chill in Corvin's heart. He reached for a stray lock of her hair, absently twisting it between his fingers, but his gaze was distant, fixed on shadows above the bed. It wasn't love, not for her. The affection, the comfort, performances. Maris was a means to an end, a pressure valve for his resentment, a distraction from the ache left by a bond denied. His thoughts drifted to Lyra, stubborn, ambitious, refusing the pull of true mates in favor of Kael's status and the safety it promised from her father. Bitterness coiled in his chest. She had chosen power, and here he was, in a stranger's bed, proving she could not unmake what fate intended without consequences. Let her suspect. Let the house talk and the old wounds fester. The more cracks in Lyra's little world, the sooner she'd be forced to face what she'd rejected, and what he still wanted, no matter how much he pretended otherwise. Beside him, Maris stirred, a quiet trust in her face even as she slept. Corvin brushed her cheek with mechanical tenderness, his expression unreadable. In a house of secrets, he reminded himself, everyone was a pawn. Some just took longer to realize it. Selene slipped into the cool, quiet supply room off the main corridor, stacking jars of dried herbs and wiping down the shelves, part habit, part excuse for solitude. The buzz of voices from the main hall faded, leaving her with a few precious moments alone. Rylan appeared in the doorway, casual and disarming. He knocked once on the door frame, letting her know he meant no harm. "If you stay in here any longer, you're going to start smelling like rosemary and dust," he teased, his eyes bright with gentle humor. "What do you say? Take a break and come outside with me. Even just for a few minutes." Selene paused, eyeing the next jar but letting her hands fall idle on the shelf. "Why?" Rylan shrugged. "Because everyone in this house is wound too tight, including you. And sometimes you just need a little air to remember there's a world beyond these walls." She studied him, measuring, wary, but not immune to the honesty in his voice. Finally, she wiped her hands and nodded. "All right," she said quietly. "Just for a little while." Sunlight filtered through the leafy canopy as Selene and Rylan paced the winding garden paths, their steps soft on the dew-kissed grass. Rylan walked just to her right, close enough that she felt his steady presence, far enough that she didn't feel pressed or crowded. Neither rushed the silence. Selene folded her arms, breathing in the clean air, fingers twisting absently in the loose fabric of her sleeve. She relished these rare stretches of peace, even as her mind fitfully circled old wounds and new fears. Why does he bother? After everything, after everyone keeps their distance or expects only work, he actually notices me. Not the witch, not the outsider. Just, Selene. Maybe he's just being kind. but maybe he sees the mess beneath and stays anyway. She glanced at Rylan's profile, the way his jaw tensed and relaxed, how he seemed content to let her fill the quiet when she was ready. It unsettled her. How much gentleness could matter after so many days spent ignoring her own needs? Do I deserve this? Just to walk out here, be seen and not judged? Or am I just something else he feels responsible for? Another castaway in this house of secrets? Selene let out a small breath. Maybe, for a moment, it's safe to just be. Rylan slowed as they reached a stone bench under the branches, but he didn't sit until she did first, a silent promise, her pace and her boundaries always respected. In the hush of blooming roses and birdsong, Selene felt, for a fleeting moment, almost free. Every step beside Selene felt like both a privilege and a torment. Rylan's heart thudded in his chest, aching with things he never dared say aloud. How many times had he watched her shrink herself for the sake of others, hiding her light just to survive in this house of secrets and ambition? He wanted so much to reach out, to take her hand, to tell her he'd choose her over anyone or anything. That every quiet glance, every cautious smile she gave him, split open something raw inside him. Why can't I protect her from all of it? Why does she have to suffer while the world turns a blind eye? He watched the play of sunlight on her hair, the soft tension in her shoulders. She moved through the garden, as if she barely believed she belonged out here. Yet all he saw was someone he could love, someone he already loved. If only she'd let me in. If only I could tell her everything. How I've loved her from the first moment, how her pain is my pain. But for now, all he could give was patience and silent devotion, a steady presence beside her, hoping one day she'd see herself through his eyes. The silence between them pulsed with everything unsaid, everything he wished she could understand. For her, he'd wait as long as it took. They walked the rest of the path in companionable silence, the weight of unsaid things settling soft as dusk. For the first time in days, Selene let herself breathe, feeling, not quite hope, but the possibility of it, stirring in the quiet between footsteps. Rylan stopped, just shy of the old iron gate marking the boundary of the estate. The world seemed to pause, the hush around them deepening as a cool wind swept the garden. Selene finally spoke, her voice almost lost in the stirring leaves. "Thank you, Rylan, for not pushing, for—" She trailed off, uncertain, but he caught the gratitude beneath her words. He gave her a gentle smile, fighting down the urge to say more, to do more. "You don't have to thank me, Selene. Just let me walk with you. That's enough." She looked at him then, really looked, and in her eyes, for a heartbeat, he saw a longing that matched his own. Before either of them could speak, a sudden distant howl broke the evening stillness, the sound sharp, unfamiliar, and filled with warning. They both turned toward the sound, hearts pounding. Whatever peace they'd found out here had just been shattered. And somewhere in the growing darkness, someone was coming closer.